I'm Kevin Kurz, and you're watching Nasty Knuckles.
You're listening to Nasty Knuckles, the Hockey Outlaws podcast, with your hosts, Derek Nasty Sotomayor and former Philadelphia Flyer enforcer, Ridly Greig, as they go behind the scenes with your favorite NHL players. Time to face off.
All right, welcome back. What's happening, Nasty?
Oh, what's up, Rigarelia? Did you have a little stop off on the way over this morning?
a little
I came in,
visit.
Came downstairs, and I thought fucking 70s show was going on or something. Just lit up, baller. Just get day going.
Well, hit the pop through the dispensary.
You have to. They should be
Tee myself up for the weekend.
weekend. Today's Wednesday.
Yeah,
Well, it is for you every day. Baller,
coming
right?
in.
Maybe Baller and I are grinding. You're just cruising around. It's weekend. Starts on Wednesday.
Well, you look
boy.
like you're ready for the weekend. You got the pop collar.
I got a pop collar. I didn't mean to. Sorry.
Got the chain.
Sorry, boy.
The
I always got the chain.
You got the Jackie.
It's not a chain. It's a little corduroy. This whole thing.
Sleeves rolled up.
Sleeves
You
rolled.
ready
It's
to
hot
rock?
in here, boys. It's
What
hot.
do you got in that cup now?
I got a little something in there. Just try to keep up with you.
Looks like you're headed somewhere else after this pod.
No, it's here. And let me tell you something. Where were you for the men's league game?
Same spot I was the last 13.
In bed? You fucking dick. We didn't have a game, so you don't even know.
Oh, well.
You know what the worst thing
the
is?
season's over.
Richie messaged me last night and said, is Riles still being a bad teammate? I said, fuck yeah. I said, yeah, he is.
Even Richie admitted he just can't do the late nights.
Listen, Richie's in minus 40 degree weather. Like, I wouldn't care if the rink was across the street. I wouldn't walk outside and go to it. No, I'm kidding. We didn't play, but we're supposed to start this weekend. We'll see you there. Game 1 of the season. New season.
Tell me when. Tell me where.
Yeah.
I'll be there.
maybe check the team text. Everyone like tags Riles and everything. Baller. He just once in a while he'd be like, "Sorry, boys, can't make it."
Dude, I want like 5 different massive threads that my phone is constantly being buzzed up, and I have to turn it off. So I miss calls,
Buzzed
miss
is the
texts
key word, baller.
because of it. So I have to find a way to manage the threads.
This should be number 1 thread.
I agree.
Me, you, baller.
Let's talk about this coffee.
Let's talk about. We got to get them on board, man. That shit will jack you up, boys.
The old
Oh, you threw
Regret
it.
the
You
second
threw it
cup.
out there. We didn't even get $1 from them.
It don't matter.
Just send the cough in.
We'll just send the clip in.
Oh yeah,
See what they think. But
send
guess
the clip.
what?
Baller. Just more work for Baller.
Regretting the second cup, Nast.
Oh. It's a nervous twitch. It's like when I hear country music, I just get a nervous twitch.
Yeah, it happens.
Hey, listen, we got to talk about the boys.
Mm-hmm.
Since last week when we met, and I had Ashlyn here, thank her again. She's awesome. Boys went 2-1-1. That game against the Dallas Stars was awful.
You saw that firsthand
Like
too.
it was, and I'm not giving the guy. It was like. I don't even know how to explain it. Baller, were you there, Baller? Were you at that game? You were at that game. It was tough to watch. It was like they were just all over him. Frosty ended up getting a goal, but I had 3 of my buddies came up. It'd been 30 years since they'd come up. I shouldn't even say it was that long because it really shows my age. But took them to the game Thursday and Saturday, and obviously Saturday we'll get into that. It was way better, but Thursday, thank God the Notre Dame football game was on because we were up in the suite and we were watching most of that. But there's one picture one of my buddies took of Dale took of Ricky, and he's just dead asleep.
Yeah.
He's just, I'll send it to Baller so you can, yeah. I said, dude, that's going on. Like, he's like, don't show that. I'm like, I'm showing it.
Yeah,
it
has to be
but
shown.
it was the way the game was, and led to my other buddy Chris Ledbetter. He was just laughing his ass off. But not much to talk about with that game. I mean, Dallas just looked like they came to play, and maybe we didn't.
Yeah.
I don't know if some fatigue in there, but what I really want to talk about is Saturday's game, obviously against the Ducks. And that game, that building, that was a 60-minute effort.
Yeah.
We know why, or we know what was going on. Cutter Gauthier, first time in Philly, after saying he doesn't want to be a Flyer. The boys, I mean, you talk about, they stepped on the ice in warm-up.
The building
electric. Was like the one thing I want to say, and we could get into it with our guest today too a little bit because he grew up here and worked here. That building was a playoff atmosphere, and the kids that haven't been able to do that,
feel that energy.
That energy in there. I mean, they didn't stop the entire game, and neither did the guys. The guys played unbelievable. That was one of the best. I mean, that was one of the best games I've seen in a long time. Sam Ersson, 22 saves for the shutout. I don't know. God, TK had 4 apples.
Yeah,
but just everybody was buzzing. The building was literally electric. It was so much fun to be there for that game.
A lot of booze.
Some cheers, Cutter. Yeah, they were all over that kid. But one of the things we could talk about with our guests too. But like you're playing a sport. How can you be that not engaged at all? This guy looked like he didn't want to play. He was soft. You go into a scrum with his hands down. Lost popped him one time, and I just started laughing. I'm like,
eye contact.
What are you doing? And then, TK's saying something to him. I wish I knew what he was saying. I actually want to ask him, but
he was looking away from the guys.
He didn't want anything to do with anything, man. It was just like, I don't know, man. Like, embrace the villain.
Well, that's the way I would have thought he was going to do it. You coming back into Philly, and you would come in with a swagger of some sort because you're getting booed no matter what.
You're going to get booed, and he'll probably. I was telling my friends, and they're aware of Philadelphia sports. They're all big sports fans, but I was like, this kid will probably get this treatment, even if he goes to a different team and 5 years.
15 years from now,
he'll still get booed the entire time he's on the ice. That's the way Philly is. But I just thought it was a great night.
Yeah,
and
it was necessary.
The guys played so well.
Yeah,
and the big thing is they have the Stanley Cup champions coming in next game, and they get down 2-0. You're like,
it seemed like one of those games.
A little let down, but they battled their ass off.
Yep.
Come back and win that game. I thought that was a huge team win.
Huge team effort. Yeah.
Everyone.
Big saves, Urs at the end there.
Yeah,
3-4 minutes.
Yeah, some really big saves. Noah Cates 2 goals. Frosty another goal.
Yeah.
I just thought they just battled. They looked like you were saying earlier, you and Baller. They looked like a team. Not that they haven't looked like a team, but that looked like a confident team.
Yeah.
Like that's just that's Florida Panthers, and I know everybody's getting their best game because they're a top team in the league. But I was really impressed with the way they played.
I loved it. Yeah, I mean, especially being down 2 Cobb in the first.
Yep.
I thought Bobrovsky made some pretty huge saves there too. But they stuck with it. I think they played some bit of a patient game.
Yeah.
Capitalizing on their opportunities, hung in there again. The saves, the timely saves, I think are super important, and it's a collective win. I mean,
because that can go the other way, right? You get down 2-0
for sure.
And a baller. The Flyers have the most comeback wins, don't they, in the league in the third period, which is, says a lot about the guys. They just never quit.
Yeah,
and it's something, that is coming. I think the fans appreciate that, obviously. But you can never count them out. That's for sure. The way you're playing.
For sure. Well, they got they just got I keep going back to Foerster and that line with Brink and Cates. They just buzz. They just generating. They're moving, and then you got obviously TK with energy and lots with that. There's a lot of energy in the team.
Yeah.
They're able to sustain a pretty high level game. I think. Most nights,
right?
And even when they have an off period, first or second seems to be a trouble for them. They seem to find a way to get energy back. They're never, you said, they're never down and out. So it's nice to see. You never, in a perfect world, especially from an organizational perspective, coaching perspective, you never want to be behind.
Right.
But that's the nature of the game, and as long as they're finding ways, they're generating more offense. It feels like more grade A's, I would say.
Cates made the game-winning goal, and then Bobby Brink staying on sides was.
Right.
People probably don't. A casual fan may not notice that, but he stayed on sides. He goes in and buries it. But You're right about that line. I did want to touch on those guys. I mean, they've been going strong here for a while, and I'm glad that they've been kept together. I mean, I don't know how you could separate them. No. But, it happens.
The chemistry's there. No, for sure.
Torts likes to switch things up sometimes when, and he's the head coach. He'd do what he wants, but you've left this line together, and you can just see. And I think he even talked about it last night on the post game about how well they're playing, and they're doing it on both sides, obviously, of the puck, like we talked about. But they are contributing in the scoring department, which is huge for 3 young guys.
Yeah,
it's fun to watch those guys. They got a lot of energy.
Yeah, every game they're showing up, right? Yeah. They're showing up, and they have been being rewarded the last how many games, right? They're getting rewarded, but they're showing up. They're bringing energy. Not excluding some other guys, but they seem to make a mark almost every time they're on the ice. You notice them, right? You notice the energy. So, and they're able to keep that, to roll that energy over into. Well, last night,
Blue
Columbus,
Jackets,
right? Which come up short in a shootout, but
well, you get that point. It's an important point.
Game it was a solid game.
Yeah, and that's Columbus. It's their 5th in a row.
Yeah,
they're on a bit of a little heater here.
Got some good goaltending.
Yeah,
I thought.
Tarasov. He played well. I mean, and also let's talk about Fedotov as well. I think his last 3 starts, Baller, he's been played really well. I mean, got thrown into fire in Toronto, lose that game in overtime, lost a tough one at home to the Maple Leafs the next game, and then he hasn't played in a while, and he plays last night, and I thought he kept them in the game. That Marchenko goal, dude, come on, man. Yeah. One hand, like how do you even do that?
I know.
I would probably fall over or something.
Like, what goes through your mind before you decide that?
That's what I said to LV. I'm like, the balls to even do that. It's almost like that Kucherov where he just lets the puck go.
Yeah, right.
But that one, to me, is like he literally puts it in the net. But in saying
probably
that,
practiced before
he probably's done it once or twice before.
I want to see that.
You want to see me try that? Dude, I never get. Have you ever seen me get a breakaway? Maybe once or twice. That's it.
Well, with that breakaway speed.
Well, I do have that. Yeah, right. But anyway, back to last night. I thought they battled again. It was a tough game, and Columbus is playing well.
Yeah.
Werenski, boy, he floats on the ice. It was funny. We were talking about he's got a break. He had 2 breakaways, right, Ball? He had 2 breakaways, but he scores on the one, and then he's on the 2-on-1. Like, this guy play D, or is he?
Yeah,
but man,
he's mobile. He's up in the
He's having a really, really good year. They're playing well, Columbus. Yeah. They're in a spot right now, so good for them.
But it was a big point.
It was. You get that point. You need every point you can get, for sure.
Especially against a team that you're kind of you're chasing, right?
Yeah.
Flyers are still 4 points out. I think Columbus is now in a wild card.
Yeah.
It's going to be a grind right to the end.
It's going to be a grind.
Every time we sit here every week, we're just saying the same thing.
It changes week to week, like in that wild card spot, because those teams are so close.
If you have an off week, you could be 8 points out.
Well,
next thing you know, you're 2 points out.
Were you able to talk to Lindy this morning? How things are going?
I didn't get the Lindy update.
Yeah.
The Lindy
you
report?
Didn't talk to him? Baller, you're supposed to be on that.
Send the old fax over there.
Fax? Might be working
checking
with
his fax machine.
Lindy's on computer now, man. You kidding me?
I think so.
I think Lindy's on a computer. Baller said he was. Baller said
he's adopted that technology.
Kicking in, Baller?
He's adopted that technology.
He has. Hey, Riggs, let's talk about the quarter-century first team named this week. You were not on it. I'm sorry. You were not on the left. We'll get to that. But the
Riggs was the black ace.
Yeah, right. The ultimate black ace.
Listen,
solid team guy.
You were on there though. That's all that matters. On the first team, it was Simon Gagne, left wing, obviously. Claude Giroux, that's a no-brainer.
Right.
Mike Richards, and you had Kimo on the back end with Eric Desjardins, one of my favorite. Actually, 2 of my favorites. And then Roman Czechmanek, God rest him. That was the first team. Second team.
Wasn't on that one.
He didn't get on that one. I'm sorry. He didn't get on that one. Danny Briere on the left side, or whatever, however you want to say it. But Coots and Jake Voracek, all guys I think we can agree on. And then on the back end, Chris Pronger and Ivan Provorov, with our good friend Brian Boucher in net. And they did mention you, and you were honorable mention on that team as well. Now the third team, no, I'm kidding, but pretty cool. They named that. I thought I thought they did a pretty good job of that.
I mean, that coming out.
Probably people argue some of them, but I'm good with them.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you could always argue points here, points there. I think overall, pretty solid picks.
I don't mind them. I don't mind them.
Make a difference in the lives of Philadelphia's youth by joining the roster. Ed Snyder Youth Hockey and Education's monthly giving program. Your support provides under-resourced youth with access to hockey, academic guidance, and life skills development, all at no cost to them. By becoming a member, you'll help shape a brighter future for student athletes, empowering them both on and off the ice. Plus, enjoy special perks like exclusive Wells Fargo Center event access and Flyers memorabilia giveaways. Visit snyderhockey.org today and become part of the roster.
I got a stat for you, Riggs. I know you're a huge football fan.
Yeah.
Kind of big Washington Commander fan, formerly the Redskins.
Yep.
Do you know, since the last time they won a playoff game in 05-06, okay? 2005, 2006. We're talking about NFL right now, Riggs, not NBA.
Okay.
Okay, Washington,
Gotcha.
They were the Redskins at the time.
Mm-hmm.
They won a playoff game against Tampa Bay.
Gotcha.
Ovi had scored his 25th goal. It was his rookie season.
Okay.
Now, this past weekend, the Washington Commanders, beat Tampa again for a playoff win. In between there, that's the last time they won. Ovi, our boy Alexander Ovechkin, has scored 848 goals since they won a playoff game.
Oh, my gosh.
That's a crazy number. We were talking about that earlier.
It's a lot of
obviously.
production in those years.
Not by the Commanders
Not
or
by the
slash
Commanders,
Redskins.
no,
but that's my dad's team, too. He was so fired up they
Oh, my
finally won,
gosh.
but I didn't have that stat. I got to tell young Dave that one.
Yeah.
848 goals since they won a game, our playoff game.
That's insane.
That's nuts. It's kind of like you.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
In your goal, you've scored probably quite a few since then. But anyway,
Hensley?
What's going on with this new arena you're building?
Be done in
have
6
anything-
months. You know, the technology.
They said 5 years, ball, 6 years, baller. This guy, Saddle Dome's down.
Oh, man.
They already got the new one. They're playing in the new
Oh
one
yeah,
now.
they're dropping the old roof on right now.
Baller. Really? It's done? No, but I was like shocked. Maybe we can talk to our guests about that a little bit. But it was funny because people were hearing different things. I had a lot of guys asking me at the rink last night, and I'm like, I actually don't really know. But then I think there were some tweets out that they are literally building a new arena for Flyers and Sixers and whatever, and going to knock the Wells Fargo down, which you just put, what, $400 million into it? Well, I don't understand.
I don't understand.
It's like a new arena now.
I mean, you can't do anything with that thing.
Why?
Like,
Why? But why not? Why? What are you going to do different for a new arena? I don't understand.
I don't know if it's just like making it bigger, or I don't know. I mean, to me, it's not. How old is it? Like 30 years?
Well, it's 96, 97 was the first year, so it's almost.
I mean, in the grand scheme of real estate, I mean that's not that old, obviously.
Well,
I
when
mean,
you
keep
well,
putting
especially when
every
you put
year, they're
that
putting
much
in
money into it. I don't know. I thought it was crazy.
But where are they going to plop that thing?
Baller? Where are they plopping that thing? He's giving us the shrugs. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I thought they were maybe just talking about building some more hotels, maybe right there, some restaurants and stuff like that. But I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
That's a little bit above my pay grade, not yours. I mean, you're probably in on the meetings with that. Definitely be a dispensary
been on a
there,
few of
right?
them, yeah.
Be a dispensary
Definitely, you gotta have
in
one.
there. Yeah, you do.
Who's coming in for naming rights? You think, Nast?
I don't know. We'll have to find that one out.
Probably not Nasty Knuckles. But
We're
pretty
pulling
cool.
our investors together. We'll see what happens. We'll see
trying
what happens.
to bridge the money for it.
Hey, Kim, how's that bunt cake arena going?
A few people got to talk
Will,
to.
yeah, we got to talk to him. One other little thing, our good friend Ridly Greig, Mark Gregg's
yeah.
son, Ottawa Senators just signed a 4-year deal, $3.25 a year. Good for
Nice.
him, man. Knowing him since he was just a little shit disturber, little guy. But yeah, that's awesome.
Doing well,
Happy
yeah.
for him, man.
That's great.
Happy
Congrats,
for him.
the fam.
Yep, that's right. So what do you think?
I think we're ready to rock, Nast.
We ready?
Episode 187. Our good friend Kevin Kurz.
Kevin Kurz,
back in the day, the Athletic.
back in town.
He's back. Let's go. Welcome back. I'm Riley Cote.
And I'm Derek Settlemeyer. And this week we have a good friend, Riggs.
Yes,
guy I've known a long time. Currently a hockey writer for The Athletic. Does an unbelievable job. Writes what he sees and what he feels and doesn't worry about what anyone says. And I love that about you.
Love that.
Good friend, Mr. Kevin Kurz. What's up, Kurz?
What's up, my friend? How you guys doing?
Doing well, man.
My friends, I should say.
Yes.
Yeah. Nice to
Appreciate
see you,
coming.
brother.
Good to see you. Thanks for
Coming
having
by.
me.
Looking sharp as always.
Yeah.
Jeez. GQ, this
Well, you
guy.
I didn't know what the
you guys
dress
both
code
No,
was. so-
he's got the hair.
Yeah,
he's
he's
got it all
definitely
going. He's got it all
Tightened
going.
it up before he came in the
Yeah,
studio.
looking good. He's always looking good. So what's up, buddy?
Nothing, man. Good season so far. I mean,
Yeah.
it's been not quite as, I think, newsworthy as last season was, but, it's always interesting around here, that's for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. Quickly, I was going to just ask you, like, obviously we've known each other a long time.
Mm-hmm.
You're worked with the Phantoms, the Flyers, obviously. Can you kind of take us on the path to what brought you here back to Philly?
Yeah, I mean, I started out, as you know, working with the Phantoms in their PR department, moved over to the Flyers. Lockout year was, I remember I picked you up at what year was that?
That was the lockout year, 04, 05.
The lockout
right?
year, yeah. Do you remember that?
I
I
do,
was the
yeah.
one who picked you up at
Oh,
the,
my God.
That's right. That's
yeah.
We're in Hartford?
We were in Hartford, yeah. I don't know
Hartford, yeah.
why I was on that road trip, but that was the only road
was
trip
it.
I think
That
I
was
did
the
that year.
weekend of the year, and that's when we saw that stick we talk about all the time. Riley was trying to use.
Yeah,
He
Kurzy saw
it
the
too.
flat blade before you did.
Actually,
he was like, "What the hell?"
I didn't want you to get mad at Kev, but like he called up to my room and said, "Dude, this guy, he's I don't know if he's right-handed or left-handed, but I don't think it's gonna matter."
It's not going to matter.
No, I'm kidding. We always joke about his stick was just a straight blade,
Yeah.
looked like Gratz. Anyway, sorry.
So yeah, lockout year, I was working for the Flyers, and then I remained in PR. Kind of transitioned from PR to their web content. Stayed through 2010. Worked at Comcast Sportsnet corporate for a year. Went to San Jose in 2011. Covered the Sharks for 10 years for CSN and the Athletic. Was in New York for 2 years, and then I got back here the start of last season.
Wow.
Amazing. Yeah, welcome back.
San Jose. It was nice to go to San Jose, and you see a guy it was kind of cool always. And did you enjoy your time out there?
I enjoyed the job. I didn't necessarily enjoy living there.
Yeah.
I missed the weather and the Mexican food.
Yeah.
It was a good team to cover at the time, I should say. It was, you had Joe Thornton in his prime when I got there, Patrick Marleau, Joe Pavelski, Logan Couture, some deep playoff runs, which, as a hockey writer, obviously you're not rooting for the team, but you'd rather watch a good team than a shitty team for 8 months. Some characters, Brent Burns, I have to mention him.
Yeah.
It was a fun team to cover. It was a good team. It was always interesting out there, it seemed like. And as for me as a hockey writer, transitioning from PR into the media side, it was good to do it out there where it's a little bit less. The spotlight's a little
Right.
dimmer,
Yeah.
so I could kind of find my voice a little bit covering that team. And it was interesting at first because, as you guys know, I grew up in Philly, in the Philly area. The Philly media has a way of doing things, and that was the way I figured I would do things too. And when I got to San Jose, it's sort of, I think the first impression was, who the hell is this guy to tell me about my hockey team? Because they don't get they don't get criticized all that much.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
And at the end of the day, that team underachieved most seasons because they were a Stanley Cup contender every year, right? So I think that helped me a little bit. And so now, I go to New York and I come to Philly and I understand, I think, how to do the job a little bit better and how to be critical and just essentially it's just, finding your voice and what's really a saturated market.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Is there a science to being critical and being honest without like crossing that line where like the world seems like it's going to end? when you make a comment?
Yeah. I mean, it's sometimes difficult, especially because you try to have relationships with players in the dressing room, and they're not friendships, but they're relationships.
Right.
And as you guys know, so many hockey players are just good dudes. You can talk about them about life in general. You can just shoot the breeze, and with some guys, not all of them, obviously. But if that guy gets healthy scratched and hasn't scored a goal in 12 games, you gotta be critical.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a guy, I won't mention his name, but there's a guy in the Flyers room that I was pretty hard on at one point, and he's a good kid, and I could tell that he was probably not all that happy with me after I wrote something, and you just go up to him and say, are we good? And he's like, yeah. And then I think at the end of the day they understand.
Yeah, I mean, you're doing your job, and unfortunately,
tough business.
It is. I mean, but it's good. I do like the way you handle yourself, because if you don't, then you're not genuine, and then people don't.
Well, in this town, you won't have any credibility in this town if you're going to completely praise the team all the time.
Yeah,
so
you have to be honest. That's for sure.
Yeah, no. Is like the sports writing, hockey writing specifically, something you always wanted to do, or is it something that you kind of evolved? And
I would say so. I started out in PR, and then working for Zach Hill, as you guys both know, that's
legend.
How much fun is that working for Zach, and the best boss of all time. So, when I was always interested in it, that was kind of always what I gravitated towards. It's a tough business to break into. It's especially tough now because you have. Everybody has access to so much information on social media, and there's some bloggers that do a really good job. There's others that don't, and you ask yourself, why the hell are people listening to this person? But at the end of the day, it takes some time, I would say, for people to realize that you know what you're talking about, and your opinions, while maybe not always right, are at least formed based upon the information that you're gathering throughout the year. Yeah. So, again, these days it's sometimes hard to break through because there's so much information coming at people from so many different directions. But, it's something I still enjoy.
Yeah, that's great. You did a great job at it.
Yeah, Thanks, buddy. I agree. Going to get your thoughts. There's a lot to go over with the team, but what are your thoughts on the team this year? So where we are now, I should say, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you wonder with an effective power play and at least average goaltending where they would be in the standings right now.
Right.
That's the biggest question, is because they still work hard every night.
Yep,
they do.
Which has basically happened since I got here. At the start of last season. But, the goaltending issues obviously came to the forefront when Carter Hart left midway through last season.
Right.
And I like Sam Ersson as a goalie. I think he's got a future there. Is he a number one? I don't know, but I think he's at least a very good number two in the NHL. The power play, I think you really got to start to question why they haven't figured this out at this point. We're looking at third straight year of maybe not dead last like it was the last 2 years, but what is it now, 28th in the NHL? That's, there's you got to wonder why, especially this year. You've got a guy like Michkov, and John Tortorella keeps saying, well, we're not going to turn him into a checker. We're going to let him play his game in the offensive zone. Why haven't you figured out a way to utilize this guy in the power play nightly?
Right.
So that's, and we've seen it, the last couple of games, they get good goaltending from Ersson and Fedotov. They get some points in the standings.
Right.
If they had just had league average goaltending since the start of the season, they're in a playoff spot, I think.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. Yeah. It's been wild. It's been a kind of a carousel, not as bad as one of my last years there, when I think we went through 9 goalies, but you're right. Since last year, it's kind of, it does rear its head.
Oh yeah,
a bit. But like you said, also the last, I'd say, 3 games. Well, even for Ivan, I think his last 3 starts, he's played well. I mean, he the OT loss and TO we talked about earlier, and then he lost to Toronto again. And I thought he played well last night. He battled, but
Sam's played well since coming out of the Christmas break. He had he came out again from injury, but
San Jose was it San Jose?
He had a shutout 2 periods in, had that collision. Yeah, but he's been pretty solid, and we'll see. I would think he's going to get the bulk of the starts here going into the break, the Four Nations break. But you're going to need 2 goalies, as everyone knows, right? Especially in a year where the schedule's a little bit more compact. We'll see. I think now if Ivan, I don't think there's any doubt now that he's the number 2.
Right.
We'll see if he can hang on. It's good, I think, for Danny, because he'll get an understanding. Like, is Ivan Fedotov going to turn into an NHL goaltender?
Right.
And so, in my opinion, let him play, let him keep going, let him see if he can build. You'll know a lot more about your goaltending before March 7th and the trade deadline, because I think you have a decision to make. You have to decide, do we need to replace this guy by the start of next season? Or can we count on him to be at least a serviceable guy through next season when he's still getting paid, what is it, $3.25 million, I think.
Yeah, he is.
I want to dig in a little bit about the power play there. You mentioned, obviously, you watch a lot of hockey.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you were to compare the Flyers power play to like a middle tier power play, is the talent level the same?
No, yeah. I think you would agree with that, right? They still lack the elite high-end talent.
Yeah.
But, you go back to last season, San Jose was dead last in the league, and I think they finished 21st in power play percentage, like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
So at some point, you got to turn to the coaching staff, and you have to wonder, why haven't you guys figured this out yet? And, the Flyers, to their credit, they were very transparent early in the season in saying that they're trying to get opinions from everyone on the power play. All these guys in the organization that were such great power play players, John LeClaire, Patrick Sharp, Danny Heatley, who's a scout now.
Right.
Basically, they put them all in a room before the season, and Rocky Thompson got up there and made a presentation, and then they all just discussed, all right, what can we do with the power play? Where is it? How can we improve this thing?
Yeah.
Right.
Hasn't happened. I think Torts told us a little while ago that that power play team met again at some point. Maybe it was not November or so, but you lack the high end talent, but at the same time, it should be better than where it's at.
I agree. I agree fully. Yeah, they just got to find some. It's easy to say always, right? It's just like maybe putting more pucks in the net and finding spray, just finding like. Almost like average ways to score.
What do you think the issue is?
Well, I think it's obviously some level of a talent issue, and it's always an execution issue, right? I mean, you can show all the video in the world, you can huddle up the best power play minds together. You could relay the message, and then you still got to go out and make, it's the passing. It's like, you look at the best power plays, it's like the passing is so perfect. There's no ever bobbling pucks.
Yeah.
It's always in the wheelhouse. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they
like
move
Florida's
everything.
the other day. They look pretty good.
Everything is so crisp. There's no flaw. Almost like it's like flawless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As soon as there's like a disruption in the flow of the passing, everyone's set, right?
Yeah.
So I think it just lands up being execution. Obviously. I mean,
And they talked early in the season, I think it was Rocky even who said this, that they were going to try to find a little bit more continuity in the units. And they kept them together for a little while, but then they've all gone in the blender since then, right?
Yeah.
We've seen Michkov come on the top unit, off the top unit.
Yeah.
We've seen Emil Andre running the top power play unit. He's in the Phantoms now, so they haven't really found those consistent fivesomes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he looked great while he was here. By the way,
I thought so too.
We talked about that before, but
I
wanted to pick your brain a little bit because, like we were talking about earlier, Kev, you obviously worked here.
Mm-hmm.
You were here when we went to the finals. That building Saturday night,
that was awesome.
About as good as it's been in a long time, and it was obviously the Cutter, that whole situation, which I think I saw you say yesterday or the day before that. They were trying to act like the media drove this whole thing, and that was not the case at all. But I will say it was a best 60-minute. I mean, it was basically a full 60 minutes team put together. I love the way they played.
Yeah.
They just I just want to get your thoughts on that because it was, you've been here when it was like that. And for the guys that haven't played a playoff game here, you would hope some guys were saying, hey, that's what it's like. Mm-hmm. Like if we can, put it all together. But anyway, I just wanted to get your thoughts on that whole Cutter situation.
Yeah. So, I'll go back to Friday. They're skating at the Class of 23 rink at University of Pennsylvania. So I hustled over there, and it's funny. You see on the door of that rink, the first thing I see was a sign that basically said, Anaheim Ducks, at the request of the Anaheim Ducks, practice is closed today. They didn't want anybody wandering in. They didn't want to take a chance. Like
that's
crazy
probably a good idea.
Well, it's funny because it was actually I know a fan that did try to show up, and he direct messaged me on Twitter, and he told me the practice was closed. Oh, really? So somebody was trying to get in there just to see. I don't know what they were going to do. You know, I'm sure they weren't going to do anything too bad, but maybe yell at him a little bit.
Yeah.
But anyway, the practice was closed. Cutter, to his credit, the Ducks didn't hide him. I was the only reporter there. Surprise. And the Ducks didn't hide him. He came out, introduced himself, very polite kid. Like, I give him credit for coming out and talking to me. It was very brief. I only had maybe 3 or 4 minutes with him. But I asked him, what's your reaction to maybe, I forget specifically what I asked him. And then, we talked about the media says this, the media said that. And I said, well, okay, do you want to clarify any of these lies that you're speaking about? And he doesn't.
Yeah.
So, it's a low-hanging fruit these days to criticize the media, right? Everybody does it.
Yeah.
But you can't criticize the media, and you can't say there's a bunch of lies out there and then refuse to clarify them.
Yeah, right.
I agree.
And
opportunity.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he thinks he's taking the high road by doing that, or if in his head that's what he thinks he's doing. It doesn't come off that way, and I think everyone can see it. And that's the way I tried to present it: is here's what he's saying, but he won't clarify anything. So. Then the game itself was, I'm sure, obviously we knew there were going to be some boos and some chants, but the most impressive part was it didn't let up all 3 periods. I mean, he's taking a shift there in a 6-0 game with 8 minutes left in the third period, and everyone's booing him. I mean, it was impressive, and I thought it was obviously the way the Flyers played. They knew, even though no one wants to talk about it, they knew what the stakes were.
Right.
And that first game in Anaheim, I was there, and I saw in the opening shift. I don't think the cameras picked it up, but Travis Sanheim's giving him a couple shots, right?
Yeah.
And when I asked Travis afterwards, was there a little message sending going on there? He's like, yeah, there was a little bit.
Yeah.
So I thought what was maybe most impressive was that guys like Sanheim, Konechny, guys that consider themselves almost the representatives of the organization, right? They're both going to be here a long time. They're both cornerstones. They're both heart and soul guys that are leaders on this team. They took it upon themselves to go out and almost give the fans what they came for.
Yeah.
And I think that says a lot about the culture, which we talk about all the time, and the guys that you have that are sort of leading the way in that regard.
Yeah. I was talking to Riles about it. Like, the one thing, if I'm I get it. It's probably a difficult situation, but he put himself in that situation, and he's only got to play the Flyers twice, right? A year. But it bothered me, and I don't know why, that this guy's so soft. Like, dude, you go into a scrum, and I think Lodge caught him with are you really going to go into that scrum with your hands down and then just take it?
Philly
like, I don't care. Like, I'm not tough by any means, but if someone gives me a glove in the face, I'm giving one back.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not trying to fight anyone, but, like, just to turn his head, and like the Cronin, like, their coach is a hard-nosed guy. Like, that to me, that would drive him nuts.
Showed like no emotion.
I think there's reports out there that say that he's trying to get him to play a little bit more of a tougher game.
Yeah, I mean, he's not going to run around or anything like that, but I think he's going to be a good player.
Yeah.
But it was funny, Kev. So I went down to see Radko Gudas after the game, and there's a lot of people downstairs in that area. It was me and my 3 buddies, Goody, like a couple of security guards, and Cutter is right behind Goody talking to a couple people, like, must obviously there to see him. And he's a little bit bigger than I thought, too. Like,
he is big, yeah.
He's a little bit bigger than I thought, but it was funny. I said to Goody, like, I knew he wouldn't say anything bad about him, but he'd be honest. I said, how is he? He goes, he's a good kid. He's quiet. Like, but I'm like, he had a tough night tonight. I'm like, he's like, yeah. And then something happened with Michkov. I'd have to go back. Baller, you may remember. Did you get a stick from Goody? Because he had I don't know if he lost a tooth. I can't remember if he said he lost, but he had a huge cut. And he's like, I'm like, I should sucker this guy right now. I know who it is. I don't want, like, he's a kid, but, like, he's like, I finally had to give him something because this kid I'm like, oh, he'll put his stick up. He doesn't care, Michkov. But anyway, I just thought it was.
If Cutter had dropped the gloves with Konechny there, the fans would have loved it.
Yeah.
They also would have respected him for it.
I think so. I think so.
That way out, right?
Right. That would have been that would have been maybe the door to
Brace being the villain too a little bit. I think. Like, I
agree.
I think that would be fun.
Little
Have
swagger,
some fun
right?
with
Yeah,
it.
have some fun. You know you're gonna get booed.
I think he lost his swagger last year when he said the guys on the other side will be some sad guy, whatever he said before the national championship.
It's been some weird comments really from the start from him. So.
But you know what, Kevin? I mean, you've seen a lot of stuff, and maybe you've talked to agents too along the way. I'm assuming you definitely have, but I'm not sure he was advised very well on this whole thing, the way it was handled. I mean, we're going back a year ago, but it just seemed to me like, isn't there a better way to handle this whole thing? Like when you're just not responding to a general manager of a team or people like John Leclerc.
It just strikes me as immature.
That's what I mean.
When Danny Briere and Keith Jones fly to Sweden to see in the World Juniors,
exactly,
and you freeze them out. When John Leclerc and Patrick Sharp show up to your school in November, and you don't. I mean, these guys have won Stanley Cups.
Yeah.
They're
like. That's what
it's weird. I mean, I don't want to speculate on the reasons because I still don't know why, but could it have been handled better? Yeah, absolutely. And I don't blame the Flyers for saying what they said in the aftermath of the deal because they've got to sell this to their fan base. They've got to explain what happened because this guy was supposed to be a cornerstone of the rebuild.
Right.
And we'll see how the trade works out. It's obviously way too early to really speculate on who won the trade.
Right.
But I don't think it looks bad right now.
Right.
You know, we'll see. We'll see if Jamie Drysdale figures it out, and we'll see if maybe Cutter was a little overrated.
We
still don't know either one.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind Drysdale's game. If he can stay healthy, I think he's been certainly better.
You'll see, especially after that game on Saturday. Maybe that's the sort of spark that he needs to get it going, because I thought he looked good again last night.
Yeah, he's mobile.
He is. His lateral movements are really impressive.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about, because you're around the guys a lot, about Brink, Foerster, and Cates, and just how well. That's one line they haven't, thrown in the blender, as you said.
Yeah.
But they're fun to watch. They're playing. They're getting points, but they're obviously playing well on the other side of the puck. Yeah, 200 feet.
Yeah. Well, you can tell. I remember talking to Torts coming out of the Christmas break, asking him about Noah Cates, and you can tell he's really proud of him. He really likes this kid. And as you guys know, Noah's a really good kid, really nice guy, really, he wants to be a part of this. He lives in Old City with his wife. I mean, he wants to be here for the long term. And healthy scratch at the start of the year. And I remember coming in at the start of last season, and a lot of people were talking about Noah Cates. Gets a handful of down ballot Selke Trophy votes the year before, and halfway through the season, I'm like, what did you guys see in this guy? I don't really see he's not scoring at all. He looks, he was hurt a little bit too. That didn't help. And then, at the end of last season, he gets up there and talks to us on Getaway Day, and he basically says he kept calling it an identity crisis where he wants to maintain the defensive aspects of his game, but also contribute offensively, and he just never was able to find that line last season.
Right.
And obviously at the start of this season, he's not even in the lineup. I remember I actually saw his parents. I think we're in the first road trip of the year. I think it was Calgary. I'm just sitting at the hotel bar getting dinner, and there's two people there in Flyers gear. I'm like, these guys have to be parents.
Yeah.
So I introduced myself, and it was Noah's parents.
Okay.
And I think he played one of those games, and I think they were doing both of them, but he didn't play the other one. So it's that kind of sucks when your parents come all the way to Western. They're from Minnesota, go to Western Canada to see the kid play, and he wasn't even playing. But I mean, I can't believe this guy. Like, he's been ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, he's tenacious. He's scoring. He's responsible. He's helped Tyson Foerster and Bobby Brink with their games, right? And now you go back to his contract. I think it's about $2.6 million this year. He's a pending restricted free agent. Now if you're Danny Briere, you got to be thinking about, we probably want to extend this guy, and he sure looks to me like he could be a third line center on a good team.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I really enjoy watching them. They look like they have fun together too.
Yeah.
We've had Bobby on. When I see him, I talk to him. He makes me he's just always smiling and happy.
Boy, he looks at when he was first talking to us. You put him in media scrum. He looked like he was standing in front of a firing squad. He's so nervous, right? He's starting to loosen up a little bit.
Yeah, he's funny.
And I don't, so I don't judge at all, because I've never been in that position where there's 20 cameras around me. I'm sure it's very nerve wracking for a young kid. But he's starting to loosen up a bit. What did you think of Tyson Foerster? Because I love, one of my favorite players to watch is Mark Stone. Like, that guy is such a beast. He does so many little things. And like I think Foerster has a lot of those qualities, right?
Yeah,
just
agree.
from the size, he's got the long
reach,
stick. He's hard along the boards.
Pucks,
I don't know if he's going to ever be as mean as Mark Stone is, but do you see like those sorts of qualities?
It
Is that
seems
a good
like
comparison?
more and more that he keeps finding more confidence. Like yeah, I mean, and shoots the puck like just quick and in small areas. Yeah, he does. The lanky range. He just. I really like seeing this guy kind of evolve too.
Yeah, for sure.
I think he's sort of an untouchable guy at this point.
Yeah,
I was gonna. This is my next thing I wanted to talk to you about. Is obviously the deadline's coming up in a few weeks. I think I heard you were talking about Risto's probably a guy that a lot of teams are in. I think his best year since he's been here. That's just my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But he's a big D man. You don't see a lot of teams winning the cup without a big back end, even in today's game. But what are your thoughts on the trade deadline? And do you think they're going to be pretty active or?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I do think Risto's a guy they're gonna move ultimately. And it's going to be a big hole. And Torts even alluded to it the other day when I asked him about it. He almost, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I basically seemed to be implying like if he does get traded, that's going to be a big hole, just like Sean Walker was when they traded him last year.
Sure, yeah.
But the way he's playing, I could see the Flyers eating some money this season, but I think they want to get the whole thing off. Certainly by the end of the contract, they're not going to be eating any money by that third year.
Right.
I do think based on what I've heard, they're going to let it play out a little bit. There's a lot of speculation now. Our team's going to try to move players before the Four Nations break, but he's playing for Finland. I don't see any deal with him happening until much closer to the deadline, unless a team just comes in and just blows you away with an offer. Scott Laughton's a name we hear a lot about.
Yeah. I
still don't think they're going to trade him.
I don't think they will either, unless you just get a deal like they blow your doors off with something.
Yeah, it was. I sat down with Keith Jones maybe a month ago, and maybe the most interesting part of the interview to me was when I was asking about not Scott Laughton specifically, but I said, how do you balance trading popular guys in the dressing room while also trying to maintain that culture, right? And he said players understand value, right? So I think basically what he was trying to say was players understand you're trading a guy like Sean Walker and getting a first-round pick in return.
Right.
Yep.
But Scott Laughton he's the most popular guy in the room. He's him and Konechny are the emotional leaders in that room, I think, and I get maybe Sanheim too to a lesser extent. If you're trading him for a second and a third round pick, that's not going to go over well in that room at all.
No.
That will really piss off a lot of guys. And listen, that's not a reason you do or don't you make a deal, but you have to weigh that. And I think this front office weighs that more than maybe some other front offices do. And I don't disagree with it. I think you have other guys you can deal to get picks. Whether that's Frost, Farabee are going to hear their names a little bit. Ristolainen, I think, could potentially get back a first round pick. You've already got 6 going into next year's draft.
Right.
Why not just keep Scott Laughton around? Not just for the culture reasons. He's playing pretty well.
Yeah,
he's a versatile guy. He's on the wing. He can play center. He's their best penalty killing forward.
Yep.
And he's going to keep that room together. And especially with a guy like Michkov, right?
Yeah.
What do we see the other day? They collide and he gives him the little kiss on the helmet at the bench.
I mean, great. I was worried. I text Lotz. He texted me back after the game. He said, "Ooh," he goes, "That was close." Because I'm like, he's had a few knockwood conkies, and I was worried about him because he took the worst of that.
Yeah. So, I think the bar is really high for them to move Laughton. I would be surprised if they do. Yeah. You never say never because you never know what a team's going to come in and offer you. But
that's always it.
The big question is, when's Danny going to make his first real big move, right? When's he really going to go after a center? And is that going to be now? Is it going to be this summer? Is he going to wait even longer? I don't know. I don't think anybody really knows the answer to that.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, a lot of picks this year, but we were talking about this last night at the rink with some of my buddies, the dads on the team, and when is it we're rebuilding again? Because this has been going on for a while. We're still rebuilding. I understand, but how are you going to get that player that's that guy? We got Michkov. He's going to be a special player, we think, obviously. Yep. But he's going to need another. It's almost like the Batman and Robin thing we always talk about with Sid and Malkin when they were young, and you throw Letang in there too. Most teams have that. Yeah. That 1-2, and G got, to me, Claude Giroux. I
Didn't have the old Robin.
He never really did have the Robin. But what my question to you is, how you can go about this? But when is that time where you do make a move, a trade to try to get someone in, and then again you got to have someone that people are offering up as well. No one's just going to give you their best player.
Yeah.
Or free agency maybe. Looking at that.
Yeah, I don't know. But,
all that. Yeah. Sorry, I was long-winded. I apologize.
I mean, obviously they're trying. You look at them stockpiling assets like they did last year in the form of draft picks, and they're probably going to do that a little bit more going in the deadline. That's all currency you can use, right? The more draft picks you have, the more, maybe you throw a prospect in the right deal. Do you dangle a Jet Luchenko for a top line center that might be out there, maybe someone that we don't even know is available? That's Danny's biggest challenge, right? From now until maybe not. Again, people talk about the timeline. It's still probably their timeline to compete isn't going to be next season, but it's going to be the season after. So they're obviously not going to rush into anything. But at the same time, you got to strike when the iron's hot, and if you see a guy that you think could be that guy, you're going to have to pull the trigger on it. So when it's going to happen, who it's going to be for. I mean, that's the biggest challenge, right?
Yeah, and you brought up a good point too, Kev, about like Lawton and that just what he means to that team. You were in San Jose when they got rid of Pavelski.
Yeah.
They brought in Evander Kane and Erik Karlsson. And not to shit on those guys, but I mean.
Well, yes. You
lose a guy like Pav.
Culture shock?
Like, I know I had Pav, so I back in 2010 in the Olympics, he was on our Olympic team, and so I stayed, in touch with him, and just unbelievable person, right? And a leader. I mean, you go. I don't know. I can't say enough good things about him, but you kind of saw that whole change.
That definitely has influenced my thinking because I did see that. He was a free agent, and basically what they did was they had traded for Evander Kane the season before, and when they extended Evander Kane on, I think it was a 7-year, 7 AAV contract, 7-year, $49 million contract. That was the money that would have gone to Pavelski, and I think Pavelski and his camp knew it at the time. And so what does Pavelski do the next season? Basically scores like 40 goals. I think he had 40 goals as a pending unrestricted free agent. That was his, you're going to pay this guy all this money. Well, you're going to owe me too at the end of the season or I'm gone. And, he didn't let it affect the way he handled himself in the room. And that was, I don't want to get my years screwed up. I think that was the 2018-19 season when they made the conference finals.
Right.
He was their captain. Remember, he gets, his head gets bloodied. He gets taken off the ice. They score all those power play goals. That was that season. They let him walk after that season, and it all goes to hell. And it wasn't just because he was just such a good captain. It was because you also replaced him with guys like, you paid Evander Kane, Erik Karlsson all this money. I don't know how they are now. At the time, not good team guys.
Yeah, right.
Not guys that were culture setters by any means.
Right.
And that team was also getting older too, so there was a talent issue. You can't you can't just gloss over that. But I do think they could have extended their window to compete a little bit longer if they had kept Pavelski and kept that culture intact.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think they miss him in Dallas now too. I mean, I was talking to Pete DeBoer before the Dallas game the other day, and he told me Pavelski popped in and saw them when they were in Chicago because he's in Wisconsin. And,
right.
And I think I saw something on Twitter that said he had a conversation with Logan Stankov, and the guy goes out and did he have a hat trick last night or something?
That's unbelievable.
So that's a guy that you want to keep those guys around. I think Scott Lawton is one of those guys.
I agree.
Yeah,
I totally agree.
Yeah, that's the the energy that numbers and metrics can't really ever kind of sum up, right? It's like something like that. It's like you can look, I can compare their numbers and their stats and their minutes played and stuff like that, but you talk about character and energy they bring and that cultural element you're talking about. It's like
you must have played like throughout your career with guys like you'd bring someone in that no one really wanted there, or you have a guy leave and you'd all miss him, right?
Yeah, sure.
So, and how does that change the vibe?
Oh yeah, I mean it's very obvious, right? I mean it's that's why they always say like if there was two exact the same players, you're always going to pick the better character guy. Just like the vibe of the player, how that player affects the collective is to me is the formula, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it can shift a team both ways, right?
Yeah.
You can make a team, it can destroy a team. And yeah, I've seen it in different versions. You've seen guys that maybe aren't the greatest guys that teams keep in check, and you probably know who I'm talking about. Yeah. Just as long as you're scoring, you're on the team. But if you're not scoring, you're gonna be an asshole. It's like we don't want that.
Yeah.
But
might have a teammate grab you.
Yeah, someone grab you. But it's an important part of this when you talk about lots and stuff like that for the fans to hear that perspective. Is they don't realize how important that character is. Mm-hmm. You talk about the essence of a team, right? It's like they always look at numbers and it's like, minutes and production, but there's something powerful with that.
I agree, and I think Kevin made a really good point about Danny being here and in charge, and that flyer way, however you want to say it, but that culture and what they're building with Jonesy as well and Dan Hilferty is huge, and they understand that part of it. Yeah. Like, I think, obviously they do, but
and that positive mental attitude you mentioned earlier, like you want your young guys around a guy like Scott Lutton.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
And he's not even that old, right?
Yeah, exactly.
He's got another year left. Was he 30? We're going to be 31 next year.
Exactly.
It's not like he's 37 years old.
No, so. I think even at the end of next year, if he's still playing at this level, you think about extending him as far as I'm concerned.
Sure.
So, but we'll see. If a team comes in and says we'll give you 2 first-round picks for him.
Yeah, right.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, hey, actually, that just reminds me. We had him on the deadline day.
Did you?
And Baller just right in the middle goes, "Whoa, Elliot Friedman just tweeted you got traded. Fuck off." Oh yeah, he went.
Jesus,
he's like,
to Toronto?
Yeah, Toronto. Yeah, but no, I hopefully there old Lots is sticking around. I think he's a huge part of this whole thing and the rebuild. As we go forward here.
What are your overall thoughts on Michkov? Obviously, a ton of hype, amazing talent, coming here a little earlier than he was expected to. Overall thoughts so far?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's certainly shown that he's going to be here for a long, long time, and they can plan on him, I think, improving throughout the course of the year. But the most interesting interview he's given, because unfortunately the Flyers don't give us a professional translator to talk to him, which is something I won't bitch about here. I'm not real happy about that. But he did an interview with a Russian language reporter in LA, and I met her. I was sitting next to her in the press box, as a matter of fact. So 100% legit reporter. He basically admitted he's having trouble with the conditioning, the grind of the season, all these games, 4 games in 6 nights, and back-to-backs that he wasn't used to playing in Russia. And Torts kind of referenced that too, where he said, we're looking forward to getting him with our trainers on a year-long basis and teaching him how to train and how to eat properly and all that stuff. And so I think that's a real thing. I think that's probably why you're going to see him go up and out. And people compare him to Celebrini. Celebrini's dad was the trainer of the Golden State Warriors. This kid's been training for how long, right?
Exactly.
So he's so
and
he is,
and the way he 100%. Skates and moves
is
more efficient.
It's a different game. He has a different game with his skating ability. Not to put down Matvei, but he is not as nearly
a little more graceful.
Yes, he's not as
natural.
graceful. Yeah, and he's working hard when he's skating to keep. I don't want to say to keep up, but he's working. You can see it. Yeah. But
I'm almost looking forward to seeing how he looks at the start of next season, because one thing you can certainly tell already is this kid is driven and competitive.
Yes.
He will do whatever he has to do to get better. And if that's eating salads instead of eating cheeseburgers, he's going to do it. If that's getting up at 7 a.m. and run, I don't know what the hell you guys do for training, but I know it's pretty rigorous.
Yeah.
He'll be first in line to do it, and I think that's probably what has Danny and Jonesy the most excited about him is his compete level and his willingness to listen and his desire to get better.
Yeah, sure. I love it. I don't know if you saw last night, Riggs. He and Provy. He's even going after his own countrymen. They had a little stick check with each other. Yeah. I was kind of laughing.
Yeah, the Michkov story I like is, and somebody tipped me off to this a couple months ago. I forget what game it was. It was an afternoon game. He didn't do anything. Might have been against Boston. And Saturday. It was a Saturday night. What do guys do on Saturday nights after an afternoon game? They at least go out to dinner.
Go home and go to bed.
Yeah. He went to the
Which you never did.
He went to the skate zone to work out, and he went in the little shooting room to shoot. I mean, this is on a Saturday night.
Little Yager-ish.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah. Wow. Somebody, Mike Sealski, my friend at the Inquirer, called it Kobe-like. And he wrote a book about Kobe.
For
so.
sure.
Yeah.
Well, that is Kobe-like for sure.
And the other thing too is like we talk about this all the time. Like Torts' system is demanding, right? The high level compete and the skating and the effort that's required to sustain that level of play. That obviously a factor in Michkov's maybe I say like slowing down, if you will, right? It's just it's a lot. It's a serious workload. Obviously the games alone are more than he's used to, but just the pace of play. And its style of game.
But I do think Torts loves this guy. Like I don't think it's almost like they seem like they're sort of on the same wavelength in terms of how fiery they are. And you see it's starting to come out in Michkov's game now, right?
Right.
Even last night, I don't know who he took a shot at, but he got tangled up with somebody.
It was Provy.
Oh yeah. So you just said that.
Yeah. It was kind of funny. I text Provy after and said, "What do you leave that kid alone?"
He's got jam. Yeah,
he does.
Appreciate that. Yeah,
and I think Torts probably loves that too.
Sure.
I don't mind it. I was gonna say, speaking of Torts, we gotta. Can you get him to laugh? Can you get him to say? I've known Torts forever. I worked with him 4 times, and I was telling Riles, it's like you 6-0 win against Anaheim, buildings electric. It was almost like you just hoping he's going. What a night! It was great.
Yeah,
the fans were great, but he makes me laugh just the way he just does not want to. Looks like he does not want to speak to the media.
Yeah, well, after that Saturday, sometimes he doesn't. I will say he's my favorite coach I've covered so far. I think I've had 5 or 6 of them, just because. Everybody sees the viral moments or sees the quotes he said after that Saturday game, where it's like, and he, but for the record, he was wrong about what he said on Saturday. It wasn't the media. It wasn't, he's saying it's all the bullshit you guys are writing. Well, the team came out after you traded him. It wasn't us. That was going to happen.
Nobody went on that day.
That was going to happen regardless of what we were writing. Totally. So let's just get that out of the way. But I do like dealing with Torts because there's on days where he's chatty. He's very insightful. I mean, there'll be times between games at the skate zone where he'll sit there for 15 minutes and answer all sorts of questions, and I think he's honest with us. And it's tough to loosen him up, but it's also like we're sitting in this press conference room. They bring him in, he sits at the podium, and then they whisk him away. There's really not much time to have much, just shooting the shit with him like it should be, and that's a shame. But I don't think he has any desire to get to know anyone in the media on a personal basis. It doesn't bother me. I don't care about that.
It just makes me laugh how he just sometimes he's just.
I got him one time last year because he called. I don't know if you remember. He called it the no-hit league. And he went, and those comments went viral a little bit.
Yeah.
And my understanding is because of those comments, the league took a closer look at their hits count, and they did a whole audit of hits throughout the league.
Really?
And then someone asked about it a couple weeks later, and he said about the audit, how now Garnet Hathaway had so many more hits now, and he said, is that because they're calling it the no hit league? And I said they're not calling it no hit league. I'm like, one guy called it the no hit league, and he kind of kicked out of that
because awesome.
I think it was his comments that sort of calling it the no hit league is not something that Gary Bettman wants to hear.
Yeah, right.
Wow, I mean, some nights it is. There's some painful.
The fact that they went to the old analytics to check out it's pretty impressive.
Flyers have more analytic people than anyone in the league, I think. But no, that's good. Now I love Torts. I've worked with him a bunch of times, and I always tell these guys he's so different than when he's there. Like, he's actually a really good human, and he truly cares about the people he's with.
Yeah, I've heard that too. Yeah.
He really does.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah,
he's fiery.
He's fiery. Well, it's just...
He was fiery that night. You one punched
Landry.
Wow. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, Andre was fiery too.
He was a little fired up. But when you got the
you
little coach
got to fight fire with fire now.
You probably remember that, Kevin.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, he was.
You got to fight fire with fire.
I thought he was going to turn around and knock Torts out when he was
probably
pushing
pretty close,
him down.
yeah.
He was pretty close.
I think looking back, I think he might regrets and probably not
doing it. Yeah. Played a few more games in Calgary. Great guy though. Like he's a funny.
We gotta get him on.
I know we do. He's
the one guy that had Torts that I always liked dealing with was Dan Boyle. And I could see
right,
them. Yeah, he was.
That's right.
He was one competitive SOB too,
Yeah.
and so I could see how. And him and Torts, they went at it pretty often. But Dan says at the end of the day, it's he won a Stanley Cup with them, so he's probably a little bit biased that way.
Yeah,
but I think he enjoyed playing for Torts.
Yeah. I can see that. We talked to a lot of guys that played for Torts, and it seems
it's same
pretty
thing.
consistent, right? Yeah. Obviously, he's hard, he's demanding.
Vinny LeCavier told me when he was playing here for those 2.5 years, he would always tell me stories about Torts. A few matches, literally, as Vinny was winding down his last couple of years there, he was on the fourth line.
Yeah,
Vinny didn't like that, and so they were just butting heads. And he's like, I get here, and this is the guy I call to talk to.
Really?
Like when I have issues, and I thought that said a lot about Torts, but he said, dude, I wanted to fist fight him like a lot.
And that's what Boyle used to say is like, it takes a certain kind of player to thrive under Torts. And,
right.
Torts actually compared Jamie Drysdale. He's trying to get him to be more like Dan Boyle.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The personalities of Boyle and Drysdale, I think, are a little bit different. So it's going to be interesting to see if that works out.
All right, Riles, from the football playoffs to college and pro basketball to the rush of hockey.
That's right. With so many sports, there's almost unlimited opportunities to place your first bet every day. Try betting on something simple like picking a team to win.
Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, pick your team, and place your bet, brother.
And here's something special for all new customers. Bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly.
That is special, brother.
Oh, yeah.
Make every day game day with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code Knuckles. That's code KNUKLES Knuckles for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. New customers only. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming's resources, see dkng.co/audio.
Around the league, what are you seeing? Maybe talk about the Rangers situation, Lavi there. What are you seeing?
It's amazing just how compact the Eastern Conference is. It's almost
insane,
like you're just waiting for one team to go on like win 8 out of 9 games.
Yeah.
And, I don't necessarily think it's going to be the Flyers, but again, if they get the right goal, they get solid goaltending.
Yeah.
If their power play is even just 3 percentage points better than it is right now.
That's it.
They can win games, and we're really gonna learn a lot over the next few weeks because I think they have the Islanders 3 times over the course of like the next 2 weeks or something ridiculous. They're at the Garden. They have the Penguins, the Red Wings,
Devils.
Yeah, the Devils. So it's a lot of division matchups. I think we'll know a lot more about this team at the Four Nations break than we know right now. I mean, it's going to be you're going to have to beat the Islanders probably 2 out of 3. The Rangers, I know they've been playing a little bit better lately. You're going to have to beat them. The Penguins are sinking a little bit now, so but they always seem to have the Flyers number. So someone's going to come out of this Eastern Conference, right? And it's almost like you can almost predict it's going to look like it did last season, where you're just like waiting for somebody to do something.
Yeah,
exactly. I don't know if you know this, Kevin, but Riles is on the horn with Lindy Ruff like daily.
Yeah,
and he just can't seem to
get the Lindy report.
No, we just always kid around because we were like, beginning of the season, we're like, man, they should get themselves in a playoff spot. They just awful. Then they start winning. And Riles was talking to Lindy to shuffle a few things around.
Yeah,
and they just
got the
that
boys
team,
going.
Man. I don't know what is going on there. And
Yeah,
I mean,
what is
how many
going on
coaches have they had? We talked about this a few weeks ago, but it's not that we're really worried about Buffalo, but he is. He talks to Lindy a lot.
Yeah.
For the Flyers, do you think they're going to carry 3 goalies?
I don't think so. I think someone made a good point to me the other day about Kolosov. I've written my piece about Kolosov. I don't know why he's here. I don't know why you cave to this guy, but no, I don't think you can keep carrying 3. I think, and like I was going to say, that someone told me the other day, even if he wanted to go back to the KHL now, they're so deep into their season because their playoffs start in end of March.
True.
So, maybe they keep him on the roster for the next couple weeks going into the break just to make sure Sam stays healthy.
Yeah, true. That's a good point.
But at some point, guys are going to get more banged up, and you're going to need some bodies from the Phantoms. So,
yeah.
I don't know. At some point, this guy's got to play at a lower level because he's not an NHL goalie.
Well, and that's the thing. I think we kind of talked about. That's a great point, Baller. I'm like, this guy must be really, really good for him to throw the fit. I don't know if he threw a fit, but whatever happened, and then you bring him in. He looks like Kid Rock sitting over there with his hat and his long hair.
Yeah.
But he has not played that well. Like, let's be honest.
No, he shouldn't be here. I don't get it. He's not some high-end first-round pick. He was, 5th-round pick or 4th-round pick?
I mean...
So, now that said, I understand why they brought him in at the start of the year.
Yeah.
They probably saw Fedotov in camp, and then we all saw him at the start of the season, and he wasn't going to get done. So I understood giving him a shot.
Right.
But, I mean, he's a small goalie who seems to routinely make himself look smaller.
That's exactly what I was saying.
Yeah, so,
hard
and
It is.
while
It is.
Fedotov has raised his game a little bit, Kolosov, I think, has gotten worse.
Right.
And I don't necessarily blame him for that because he's 22 years old. He's never played in North America. He's probably got no confidence right now.
Right.
But listen, if this is what you wanted, well, this is what you got.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's a good point.
if you don't understand as a player that you're better off in the long term playing in the AHL,
Right.
and no one's telling you that, I mean, you got the wrong people talking to you, and you don't really understand the way player development works.
He's not going down to the minors?
Well, I don't know. I mean,
if he was
I've heard
sent
rumblings of that, but
Would he
I don't
go?
know.
Yeah, would he go?
Well,
Yeah.
if I know if it was 6 weeks ago, 2 months ago, he would have gone back to the KHL.
Oh, okay, right.
Maybe things
Based
have
on
changed.
timing,
yeah, I haven't really checked into it lately.
Yeah.
Maybe he would now. Or maybe the Flyers value him staying here to work with their goaltending coaches.
Yeah.
But
at some point, you got to get games. You got to, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you got to play.
yeah, and I don't see any way
Maybe a
he's going to play.
conditioning
Yeah.
stint or something. I mean, I don't know.
If
But,
he agrees to it, I guess. But
if he would agree, yeah.
I don't see this as a. Yeah, it's a weird situation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought it was as well. You got anything else, Riggs?
Any other things you want to mention around the league? Any teams to be kind of focused on highlighting?
No,
Did you have a vote for the Flyers quarter century team?
no, they didn't give me one of those. Yeah, no, it's kind of BS. You know what? I didn't really spend any time looking at it. Yeah. Did you have any thoughts on that?
Well, we were talking about it in the pre. I mean, I don't know. Like, I guess people could have their opinions on things, but I mean, I was okay with it. I mean, I never really thought about it. I didn't even know it was a thing, to be honest
Yeah,
with you.
it's
Like,
tough. There was no real sustained success, I guess, other than maybe in the early part of the 2000s. But it's tough to pick a team when they haven't made the playoffs.
We have
much.
it. Like the last few years I was there was every other year. We probably shouldn't have been in the playoffs. Chief got us into the playoffs when he took over that one year, and then when Hack came in, it was like I think every other year we made it, and so. I mean, there hasn't been a lot of sustained success, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Riggs was not on it. He was a little upset.
Yeah, the third team.
Third team he made. I mean,
What's the
Black
tough guy
Ace.
ranking in the last 25 years?
Right?
I wish they had D'Lo right now. I know he's dealing with some shit, but his back or whatever it is, lower body injury. Sorry, I guess.
Yeah. I think
Mid-body.
He's on his way back. He's on his way back.
Mid-body injury. Yeah.
He's healing. Any predictions?
Yeah, what do you got?
Yeah,
What do you got?
I don't see them making the playoffs this year. I think they're going to subtract at the deadline probably more than they're going to add. I don't know what other predictions can I make.
Who do you got? Who's
Winnipeg Jets Stanley Cup winners? Any predictions? Any
How
bold
about
predictions?
Vegas? The last time I was asked to do that, I picked Vegas.
Okay.
I like that team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
might get
pretty
some
rock solid.
They got the experience, the size.
Yeah.
You know, they're strong down the middle.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
I like
They
that
are.
team.
They
got
are a
well
good
coached.
team. Oh,
Yeah,
Johnny
yeah.
Stevens,
Yeah,
all he
Play
does
with
is win.
Yeah, you know who I like there? Joel Ward. You have Joel Ward
Yeah,
at all?
I know he is.
He's one of the best guys
Yeah.
I've ever dealt with.
I know he is,
He's in
yeah.
my top 5 of just quality dudes.
Oh,
Really?
that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool to hear. Yeah.
He's the eye in the sky there. Yeah, but I saw Johnny too when they were in town.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, Rambo.
That's great.
He's always intense, Rambo.
He's too busy winning.
That's all he does,
He's got
man.
3 cup rings.
That's
now,
all
doesn't
he
Yeah.
got.
2 with LA, 1 in.
Yeah.
What was the other?
Yeah, and then he
was
Vegas.
there with
Fuck,
Vegas.
he's
yeah.
got
Yeah.
about 4 American Calder Cup
Yeah.
rings.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, he
Johnny.
really is.
They do have a. You're right, Kevin. They got a really good team.
Yeah.
Tough to beat a big, strong team like that. I remember.
Yep.
Was he the one that he was telling us when they did win that they were so fortunate because teams run into injuries. You've been around long enough, Kev. You know how hard a playoff run is getting to the finals. And he said we could probably play another. It might have been Vince Williams telling me that.
Oh,
I
yeah,
think we
yeah,
could have
right.
played another round because everyone was healthy.
He said that at the end of their cup run.
Yeah, well, one of the scouts, our buddy Vince Williams,
Oh,
who's
right.
a scout. It wasn't Johnny, it was Vince. I think he said we were so lucky we stayed healthy.
Yeah.
We could have probably played another round if we had.
Which is almost unheard of.
Yeah, it is, especially when you go that long. But
Yeah.
well, we'll see. So he's on record.
Yeah.
Vegas, yeah.
Nice.
Vegas. I don't mind that pick
Yeah,
at
that's a
all,
good pick.
to be honest. Real quick, not that it has a lot to do with us, but your thoughts on Washington? What this Carberry? He's done an unbelievable job. I mean, that team and Ovi.
Yeah.
it's pretty fun to follow, actually. To be
It's
honest.
interesting because, you look at them going into the offseason where they snuck into the playoffs last year just because basically every team around them was brutal. And they go out and they were aggressive in the offseason, right? I mean, I remember Jacob Chikrin, right? I remember seeing him because I was still in San Jose during the COVID year. So the Sharks played what was they played each other
Arizona.
8 times
Yeah.
or something. They played Arizona 8 times.
Yeah.
He was the best player on the ice probably at least for half of those games.
Right.
And I don't know what happened when he got traded to Ottawa. I guess he maybe dropped off a little bit. So, but now, I mean, he's got to be such a key piece, and I feel like he's sort of flying under the radar.
Yeah, he is one big
He's
dude.
jacked, yeah. Well, he was banged up there, right?
Yeah,
he was
he
always
seemed to be getting hurt a lot.
Did he have some injuries along the way?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he was hurt quite a bit, but knock wood for him.
Yeah.
He's been so good with
picked up.
him. And you're right, though. He's kind of flew under the radar a bit.
Yeah, and
But
they
that
take a
team-
chance on Dubois, right?
Yeah,
It's-
I know.
it's
We
worked
talked a
out,
lot
so-
about that, and it seems to be working.
Yeah.
But I think Carberry could be up for the Jack Adams.
I think
at
he's the
least.
front runner for that.
Yeah, I would think so.
He's a great communicator. Hear him speak to the boys.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
just I don't know, just completely different than when you think of old school
Yeah.
ways of coaching and speaking. He's just so elegant and
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah,
At least the ones I've seen.
They
He
seem
just
to be
seems
listening to
yeah,
what,
they're
what
listening.
he's,
Yeah,
what he's
he's
doing. But well, brother, we appreciate your time.
Yeah, anytime.
Man. So
Always good catching up with you guys.
So good to get you
Yeah.
on, man.
yeah, it's been great.
But
Thanks for not playing live the first 20 minutes of the conversation before we went live.
Yeah, right.
yeah, for sure. But we appreciate you, brother, and we'll see what happens with Vegas. And we'll see what happens at the deadline.
Yep,
Yeah.
we
Maybe
will.
We'll get you back in here.
Yeah, anytime.
Get you on.
All right, cool.
We appreciate you, man.
You got it,
Yeah,
guys.
thank you.
All right, brother.
All right, a big thank you to our good friend Kevin Kurz
Kev, good
making
dude.
the track over.
Yes, known him a long time, man.
Yeah.
For 20, 25 years. Great guy, man.
Yeah, nice to see him doing well, and
Yep.
obviously we went our kind of separate ways. And
Yep.
I retired from playing. He moved to San
to
Jose,
California.
had a nice little stint
Crazy.
there, and
Yeah,
back,
he did. He did.
and he's back.
He's back. He's
Doing
back. He
great
does a good
job.
job.
Yeah.
He really does a good job.
Appreciate the honesty, and
Yep.
it's a tough business, right?
It
We talk
is,
about this all the
man.
time. It's the media always gets crucified for being the media, and obviously there's
There's
definitely some
that do,
yeah.
but like he was saying, and the reason because we're friends for one, but I respect him because he tells it how it is, which you kind of have to do. And it is tough when you're walking in a locker room and maybe you said, "Hey, Riley Cote was terrible last night."
Yeah.
Even though it's true, you may not want to hear it. It could hurt your feelings, but he does it. And like he said, hey, we good. Yeah. You have to realize that stuff, but it's not an easy job.
It's not, no.
When you have to, you have to be honest if you want to be credible, and he is.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's got to be tough psychologically to what you're saying. Like you have to unfortunately criticize a player and then show face within the same 24 hours, 48 hours, but I think there's something to be said about how you present yourself and how you own it. And like you said, we good, little head nod. Not that, like he mentioned, we're not friends. It's not a friendship, or it's not a friendship. It's a relationship. And that's the way you got to look at it. It's business. You got a job to do, and it's not an easy one. There's going to be losses. There's going to be guys that underperform, and you got to speak to it.
Yeah, you have to tell it how it is.
That's it. Just like you do, Nas.
That's right, brother. Mm-hmm. Appreciate you, Kevin, for joining us, man.
Yep. I mean, it's that time.
Now?
Right now. Yep. Good friends.
Oh, it's time for Clear Questions. Brought to you by Klyr Rum. Go to Klyr Rum. Go to klyrrum.com/shop. Type in Nasty 2023 and get 35% off on your order. PA residents only. Baller, what do you got?
Today, we got Mo Setter 27 from Instagram leading us off. He says, as a jersey collector, I'm always curious if during a game, will something catch your eye in the crowd? Would Riley pop if someone had a Cote Memphis River Kings jersey?
Ooh, great question.
I would definitely pop. I'd be like, where the hell are you getting that
Can
thing?
I have that? Can I buy that from you?
Yeah. Is that custom printed or what?
Did you, but speaking of, that's a great question, but because I know I do notice jerseys a lot. I've been seeing a lot of Shoresy jerseys, which I love that show, and our good buddy TR, but I've seen a lot of those lately. I actually want to get one for Elvie because he probably shouldn't be watching that show, but all his teammates do. But anyway, I was going to say, like, when you were playing for Memphis, like you just said, did you get a jersey? Do you have jerseys from those teams?
I do have a jersey.
Oh, you do? Okay, cool. That's cool.
Yeah, but to be like, playing and seeing someone rip down the stairs with a number 7 Memphis River Kings jersey, I'd be like, whoa.
Billy Barber?
Billy
Barber. Trying to be Billy Barber? Number 7?
What an odd number, eh? It's like Central Hockey League, a toss number 7. It's like pretty fast 7 out there.
Yeah.
Tough 7.
Tough 7, man.
Yeah.
It is cool. That I always like send you a pic if I'll see somebody, and I see your jersey actually quite a bit. But it's funny. I feel like I see Mike Richards jerseys, like, and when we had him on a few weeks ago, I meant to say that to him because he's probably like, I send him a picture all the time. I'm like, Rick Bone in the house, and he goes, holy cow, I can't believe people are still wearing. But I see multiple ones every game. I don't know. I guess it stands out to me because I love Richie, but I just see a ton of people in that jersey.
Yeah, no, for sure. And you always see like the elite guys. You'll see the Richards. You'll see a Pronger, a Timonen, a Giroux, a Gagne, stuff like that. But to your point there with the Shoresy, I always enjoy seeing like one of these, like, I don't know if it's a spoof jersey,
right?
In that case Shoresy, but like I remember seeing some of the old Hansen, the Hansen jerseys, and just people recreate a jersey, and have fun with it. It's always nice to see people getting creative with it. But I think I notice the jerseys more now when I'm obviously a fan and cruising around and just like observing.
Yeah.
When I played, you definitely notice a jersey or two, but I'm sure you're probably paying a little more attention to it. So I always looking around.
I'd be looking for things.
Yeah.
We'll get into that.
Eye in the sky.
Yeah. Eye on the bench.
Eye on the bench.
Which way? Great question, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
We got one from Dr. Brizgalov over on Twitter. He wants to know, any former Flyers ever drive a rust bucket or beater to the team facilities?
Oh, man. God, I don't think so. That I can really remember to where we would be like, because if you do, you kind of get your balls busted.
Well, yeah.
I mean, you did drive the Allemande.
Yeah, it wasn't rusted.
You weren't in the show yet.
It also wasn't a rust bucket. It was
actually, that wasn't a bad
brand new. It was great for tailgating.
It really was a great tailgating. Yeah. We've talked about the element before, but I'm trying to think, man. I don't think I remember anyone in the NHL having an absolute just bomb of a car, you know. It would be kind of be funny though. Oh man, I just can't think of anyone.
Yeah,
it's a kind of a good question, but
nothing's coming to mind for me either.
I mean, you can't even say, like, there's been times where, like, a kid that was playing in American League gets called up and they don't have maybe the Maserati or the big Mercedes, but maybe, like, you know, like an Explorer, and they're nice cars. I'm not saying, but I never saw, like, just an
Well,
absolute,
Rust Bucket would be like another league of, like, trying
yeah.
hard to look like a slob. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, I appreciate not caring. You have all the money in the world, and
Right.
you could buy a new car, and you just don't.
Yeah.
But I have a hard time believing guys will be rolling up like just pure Rust Bucket. But
That should be kind of
it'd be funny, yeah. Someone
You know
should
what
do
I
it.
really want to buy? My good friend Steph Klein. She's been an equipment manager. I don't think she's doing it anymore, but she's actually married to Bobby Carpenter's daughter, who is best
right.
American woman player.
Yeah,
You
we met her down at
you met
Florida.
Steph, and Steph and Carp have, I think, like 3 old school Cadillacs, but they're in mint. I mean, and
Right,
they
they're
are
all pimped
so
out.
cool. They're just like they were when they came out, but like they're clean and they're like, oh my. And I
boats.
always want, me and Brooks Barber, actually, this guy was selling one. I think we were in Arizona. We jumped in a cab, but this guy picked us up. It was a limo, but it was like a 87 Cadillac, like, you know, like, and it was so cool, so clean. The guy kept it, and he was trying to sell one, and Brooks and I literally thought about buying this car and then using it as a
limo service?
Because some people like, oh, that's sick, man.
Yeah,
Going
no,
an
for
old
sure.
school car like that was in great shape. Obviously, we
right.
didn't pull the trig, but but I just think about that. I think that would be cool if someone came in an older caddy like that. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Just start a little driving service, Nas. You could pick guys up in the old caddy.
Actually,
You got to pop the collar.
Oh, pop
Frosty.
it up. Should I get a couple of earrings and frosty tippet? Think I
Arm out
should?
the window.
Oh, and tip it? Just do it. This guy.
Just pulling up in style.
Yeah, just.
Where do you want to go?
Where do you want to go? Anybody need a ride? Jump in, boys, girls, whoever.
Oh, I skip all the technology, all the just like
There's
old
no
school.
Screen, there's no screen. FM, AM.
Just showing up.
Oh yeah, I think that'd be cool
It would
if
be
someone
cool.
did that. I think that'd be awesome. But great question. I don't think I ever saw anybody in an absolute Rust Bucket though.
Whew.
Wore him out with that question, Doc.
Oh, classic.
Oh, classic.
Classic caddy.
All right, we got one more. This one's from A Suspended 2 over on Twitter. He asks, odds of G coming back before it's over.
I think we might have been asked that before. It's a good question. I don't know, man. I don't know if he wants to.
I don't see it.
I mean,
unless they were like competing, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And, like in a situation where he could like
in another 2 years, and he's still playing, and
and be like a
well.
third, fourth line guy or something.
Yeah.
You know, like maybe not fourth line, but
Yeah.
he would play a lesser role. Obviously, get older and
I still think G's going to be effective on a power play no matter what.
For sure.
I mean, when you have skill,
you have to
the way
have
he
him on the
has,
power
I mean,
play.
he's still, you watch him play, and I mean, that team, like, they got hot, and then the Baller said they had lost 4 straight, and I think they just won 2 straight again. But I mean, they're a team that's right there, trying to get to the playoffs. I think they would be an interesting team because they are pretty youthful.
Yeah.
Obviously, G's on the second half of his career here, obviously, but still putting up pretty good
producing,
numbers, and he's just he just does so many little things that people just really don't realize. The things that he does sometimes, just a little tip of a puck, or
so
just-
smart,
he
so good with
really
the
is.
stick.
He really is. And but would it be cool? Yeah.
Oh, it'd be
especially if saying like Kevin brought up, maybe a couple more years till you're really you hope that you're making a
contender.
push, and maybe it would work out that way, and you get a little extra, push on your power play or whatever you need. May not even need it by then. Who knows?
Yeah.
But It'd be cool.
Yeah, it'd be a
But
great
I don't know.
storyline, adding depth like that.
Yes.
When you're actually a contender, but it to me, it's just like speculation and just like almost a pipe dream. I just
Yeah, exactly.
don't necessarily think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't.
It's great to think about it.
I don't think it would happen, but it would be cool, especially if he came in and made an impact and they win the cup, which we've been waiting on for a long time. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but it would be cool, but I'm not sure it'll happen.
Yeah,
he really loves it in Ottawa.
Yeah,
he really does. And that team,
area.
they're kind of fun to watch. I don't know how much. I know you're watching hockey, but like I kind of tune into them a bit.
Yeah,
I enjoy watching them. So that team with Kachuk and
they got some energy there,
and all these guys, dudes, like they're a pretty fun team to watch, and they would be dangerous. Like if they do sneak into the playoffs, I mean they're not going to be a pushover, I don't think, but we'll see.
Yeah, great
question, but not sure it's going to happen.
I know Flyer fans would truly love that.
Yep, they would.
Not anytime soon.
Probably not.
Nah. And that's a wrap.
That's it, buddy.
Hard to believe.
Hard to believe. Another week. Oh, we found him. Baller, we found him for a couple hours.
Just been studying the game. Breaking down metrics. Bringing it down. Preparing for next week.
I know.
188.
Yep. Is it you got the number right this time?
I got it right. We're wrapping up 187. We're preparing for 188. We dropped the ball last week now.
Making this guy work way too hard, man.
I was confused last week. Thought we were
He was. You were confused.
I thought we were at 187.
It wasn't just last week, bro. That you were confused.
Confused all the time.
All right, we're going to trim that beard. All right.
Ashland
Thank everyone.
liked the beard.
Ashland hated it. She messaged me. She said he does need to trim it just a bit. I said, I know. So did Homer. Anyway, thank everyone.
Yeah. Well, thank everybody. Thank you, Knuckleheads. 187 in the books. Keep the questions coming. Appreciate all the support. Until next week for 188. Stay safe, Knuckleheads.
See ya.